Hi, my name is Emmett Downhour, and I'm here to talk a little bit about the 2026 Super Bowl halftime show featuring Bad Bunny and what its references were to Latin American culture, specifically with Puerto Rican culture. So, let's start with how the first intro went for the Super Bowl halftime show, which were the sugarcane fields. This was a reference to the sugarcane fields back in Puerto Rico, where that was their main cash crop for a long time, and I believe still is to this day. However, what it was also referencing were more importantly the workers within these sugarcane fields, where at one point it was slave labor, it is now paid labor, which is good, but it is still really hard and really demanding work. And Bad Bunny wanted to give some attention, bring some love to those hard workers who are out there all day farming and hoisting up sugarcane. The next thing I'd like to talk about were the food carts that Bad Bunny passed while he was singing his opening song, which included a cart for piragua. If you don't know, piragua is kind of like a Puerto Rican shaved ice type dessert that is filled with different flavored syrups and is honestly really, really good. But another thing is that it's from Puerto Rico and it's something that he wanted to bring attention to and call out and just celebrate. Another thing that was very celebrated throughout the Bad Bunny halftime show was the house and casita that Bad Bunny was dancing over. This resembles his old house and his old casita that was in Puerto Rico, and a lot of stereotypical houses and homes within Latin American countries overall. Another big aspect was all of the dancing that was happening, which included a lot of dancing, which were the styles of perreo and salsa. Perreo is kind of a dancing done to much reggaeton songs, which a lot of Bad Bunny songs are. And towards later, with the wedding and later on, there was a lot of salsa being done, which is more of like just a casual party with friends and close ones and family kind of dancing. Speaking of the wedding, that is another great thing to bring attention to that was very noticeable during the Super Bowl halftime show was the fact that there was both an engagement and a wedding during the Super Bowl halftime, which was an incredible thing to witness and to get to experience live. But one of the big references and takeaways from that was trying to emphasize the importance of family and loved ones and most of all togetherness and the joining of cultures and people, just like how Bad Bunny would like us to be reminded that we are all the Americas, which is what he said at the end of his halftime show. We're not just Puerto Ricans or United States citizens or Mexicans or people from Canada. We are all part of the countries and continents of America. And America is not just the US. One of the other things I'd love to bring some attention to during the Super Bowl halftime show was when Bad Bunny climbed up some artificial power grids and power lines and danced up there for a couple minutes. This is tying back to Puerto Rico's infrastructure when it comes to electrical and communications grids, where they are notoriously not exactly the best well built. Specifically, there were two massive hurricanes that helped wipe out almost 80 to 90% of the infrastructure circulated around power grids and communications lines. These were the 2017 Hurricane Maria, which destroyed around 80% of the transmission, and then once again in 2022, Hurricane Fiona knocked out another 80%. Due to these hurricanes and a lack of rebuilding, there have been is notorious that there are widespread blackouts throughout Puerto Rico constantly, and electricity is, as I've quoted from a friend, an almost everyday issue. Another aspect of the 2026 Super Bowl halftime show that I'd like to bring attention to was the usage of the two white chairs. This is a very common reference to Hispanic cultures and Latin American cultures all over the world, where these are chairs where you just sit and you talk with your friends, you talk with your family, but there were core memories are made for people all across the nation, across several different nations. Now, these are also the album cover for his most prominent and most recent album, Debí tirar más fotos, which is I wish I took more photos in Spanish. And now I'd like to talk a little bit to somebody who is actually part of Hispanic culture about what they thought about the Super Bowl halftime show. Hi, my name is Emmett Downhour, and I'm here with
Leila Falcon.
And we will be talking about the 2026 Bad Bunny Super Bowl halftime show. So, just a little general questions. Leila, where are you from?
I am from El Paso, Texas, which is right next to a city in Mexico called Juarez. It is about a 5-minute walk, so they're very, very close to each other.
Nice, sounds good. Well, let's just jump right into it. I have a couple questions about the Super Bowl halftime show, but let's start off. What were your thoughts on the show?
I absolutely love the show. I think it was such a beautiful message, and it really united a lot of people that night.
Nice. So what would you say were some very culturally significant moments during the show that you could personally relate to?
Personally, I think there was one specific part where Bad Bunny woke up a kid who was sleeping on the party chairs during the wedding. That was a part that I think really, really hit home to a lot of Hispanics, because in the Hispanic community, you have parties that go till 4 a.m. and they're so much fun, but as a kid, you get tired. It was just little things like that reminded me of my childhood, reminded me of home, and reminded me of like really the culture that we share as Latin America. And I think Bad Bunny does a great job at that. Look at his album cover for his new album with 2 plastic chairs that really united the world. Such a small symbolism, but a huge meaning.
Nice. Were there any other like moments during the show where you were like, wow, I really relate to that. I've experienced that myself.
Yeah, those parts again. But I think there was the moment when he brought out all the flags. I think that was a moment where it was like, wow, we really are united. As a person who lives in Tucson, as a person who grew up with a lot of Latin people, it does not matter where you're from. And I think that was such a beautiful thing that he brought all the flags together and really said, like, we are all one continent, we're all one Latin America. And that was something I really related with, because I don't care whether my friends, Canadian, American, Peruvian, I don't care where they're from, but we all share that same culture, that same love.
Nice. Well, that's all the questions I have for you here. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Mucho gusto.
Mucho gusto.